All right, welcome back to another Public Land Savage podcast. Tonight we're going to be discussing the topic of recovering deer with a drone. So we know that in majority of states, looks like 45 out of the 50 states, it's illegal to hunt with a drone, but can you recover deer with a drone? So we just saw a story recently from Pennsylvania. Andrew, I know you've got more details on that. Do you want to lead off of that?
Yep. There was a guy just outside of Philly back in December. He runs a deer recovery service and he advertises right in his business profile that he uses drones for recovery. So he got in contact with this supposed hunter that reached out to him to help him recover a wounded deer. So the guy took him up on the offer and met the hunter out in the woods. They're able to find the deer, and as soon as the guy spotlighted the deer with thermal imaging, the game warden came in and busted him because the supposed hunter was an undercover game warden. And the significance of it is this is the first case of someone actually being cited and fined. It was just found guilty back in February, and it's the first time it's actually been prosecuted in PA for using drone for what they determined was hunting purposes, even though the guy running the drone was not holding a weapon, was not hunting at all, and was simply there to try to recover the deer. So his lawyer argued that since he wasn't in possession of a weapon or anything, he's really not any risk to do any damage to a deer. He's more or less just providing a service to try and find the wounded deer so it doesn't die without being recovered. But the judge sided with the game commission and their sting operation and busted the guy, and I think they hit him with like a $1,500 fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, highly likely. I just feel like that's entrapment. First of all, did they kill the deer? To state.
Yeah, was there really a dead deer laying out there?
No, it was a deer that he found, and like I said, he spotlighted it with the thermal imaging, but it was a fully healthy deer. They just knew there was one in the area, apparently, somehow.
Yeah, but it's just silly. I mean, that's entrapment, a guy just trying to run a business on recovery. So you just want to leave dead carcasses. I mean, look at Alaska has wanton waste law where, if you don't get your animal and take your animal out of the woods, there's some heavy, stiff penalty. I think it's even jail time for some of those. And here they're finding people for utilizing technology to recover a deer, which is absurd to me. Like, you should be able to recover the animal that you injured. And if you're being ethical in saying, I'm going to spend money to better recover this deer that I can't find, we've all been in those situations where rain hits or you lose a trail, but it's a deadly hit.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been there. Like, what's the problem with using technology to, Pennsylvania's just so far behind the ball on technology. It's just so antiquated. It's silly.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they'll let you use dogs that are leashed to try and track an animal. How's that any different than a drone with thermal imaging where you can cover more ground quicker without bumping the animal out of there?
Yeah, and you're telling me the police wouldn't use thermal imaging for fugitives? I mean, they do. Like, they used dogs originally. Now they're changing up to thermal imaging. I mean, I'm sure they use it on helicopters. Like, what's the problem here? You're recovering a deer. I mean, I get you can't hunt with it because, I mean, that changes the game completely. You already got, you already got OnX maps, which changes the game. And then you got, cellular trail cameras changes the game, and you can argue both sides of those stories. But this, I mean, you're just recovering a wounded or dead animal. Other than sitting there and wasting. I mean, you don't need to feed predators anymore. They're plenty fed.
I mean, I think I'd have to say that the biggest thing with that would be how do you differentiate between who's hunting with it and who's actually trying to recover?
Yeah. But I mean, you catch them with a gun. That's it.
Right. But I mean, the guy that's going out to recover, it's going to have a gun with him, though, because what if it's not dead yet? He needs to finish it off, or it's wounded, and you're going to get up and try to run.
Well, I mean, you sidearm. You know what I mean? Take a sidearm. I'd say that's because if you're legal to carry, then, just take your time.
Or it could be in the simple fact too that, you shot a buck, you still have a doe tag, and you can shoot two in one day.
Yeah.
You stumble
But
across something else, but
I mean, if you have to sacrifice, that tag or just
right.
not carry for that moment, then it's like spotlighting. You can't spotlight with a rifle, but I can spotlight with my concealed carry. Like they
Mhm.
can't say anything about that, but I'm also not going to plunk a fucking deer from 100 yards out my window with my 40. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a huge difference. So it's enforceable. It really is. I mean, if you don't have a down deer, you can't find a down deer. I mean, you should be able to prove blood trail. I don't know, take a picture of blood trail. You just have to have proof. Like you can easily walk out and say, this is where I shot it. This is my blood trail. This is where I lost my blood trail. This is where I contacted these guys. There are methods, but they would actually have to work harder, and do the freaking job instead of just these crazy stings. Like that's entrapment 1,000
Right.
times.
Yeah, it's for a guy that's trying to provide a valuable service to someone that's legally and ethically trying to recover a wounded animal.
Yeah. And
Right.
there was nothing about it that proved he was hunting or unethically killing animals with thermals. Like just, and in a few years it's going to change. I mean, it's going to take them 5 to 10 years because they're just so antiquated here.
Especially in this case where entrapment definitely happens. I mean,
Yeah.
and that guy is only controlling that drone for you. And if he's standing right there next to you, or maybe he's following the drone in the air, who knows?
You're coaching him.
But,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So would he really be the one in the wrong, or it's you because you're following the drone?
Well,
It's
not like he went on his own volition and went out there and just started tracking said deer. Like you told him
right.
where the deer was. You told him, where supposedly the wounded animal was. So that's why he was in the area. He wouldn't have been in the area if you weren't requesting his service.
Well, I'm guessing too that this guy maybe obviously did not know that it was illegal, or he was just doing it anyway. But he was probably advertising his business, so that's probably where they got his number to call him from in the first place.
That was exactly what
stop by
happened.
the guy's business and say, "Hey, what you're doing is illegal."
Yeah, don't do it. Like
you gotta set them up and for the fine.
Like this is what we're doing with their time is sting operation. Don't plan any food plots or don't do anything to benefit the deer. Just do a sting on some small business owner, Pennsylvania. That seems logical. Doing
the food plots and doing their job like that would actually spend money, so they're just trying to bring in revenue.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, it's zero benefit to deer. I can't think of anything they do. Those deer fields you run into are grass. It's a freaking joke. I mean, clover is just as cheap as grass seed, if not cheaper.
Right.
Like, instead of letting just grass grow, throw some fucking clover down, feed the damn deer. You bring people in, you get bigger deer, higher nutrition. Because think about it, Pennsylvania woods bucks are small. Like, I'm sorry, there's always that one hammer that's hanging out that everybody tells stories about or people seen, but that's far and few between. Other states are feeding their freaking deer, and they're getting results from it. Like Iowa inadvertently does because it's mostly farm country, but also I'd say probably 80-90% of the hunters out there are feeding the deer in the off season when it's legal. You don't see that here. I don't run into corn piles and stuff. Ohio, you can't walk very far without tripping over a corn pile, and it's legal.
Oh, they're allowed to bait out there?
Private land. And in the off season, you can here. You can lay out corn now and feed the deer.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to repeatedly feed them over and over and make them dependent on it, but you can supplement. You can plant a food plot. We did those beets that one year. We did that wildlife grass and beets
on the field.
Yeah.
They can't dump a pile of corn by their stand in Ohio, though, can they?
Yeah. Private land. Yeah.
Private. Wow.
Yeah. If you lease private land or own private land, you can hunt corn pile. And honestly, since it's so rampant there, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It's not like you sit down and they're like they still know you're coming. They still wind you. And I mean, I've done it. in years past. And with the first year I went out, we went to the feed store, and the guy's like, "You got to get this apple corn." It was like apple flavored corn. It smelled like apples, and it was corn. They mixed it with something. It was like a farm feed store. Yeah, the guy's like, "You gotta get this apple corn, boy." He's like, "You just crack open a jar of that, they come running." Well, we piled freaking 100 pounds of that shit out there. I mean, they were feeding it at 4 a.m. And someone would try to come, but if they winded you or anything like that, you would get a lot of does. But the bucks, them old bucks are smart. They'd smell you, circle you. We'd have them in there 4 a.m. before we went into the stand, so you blew them right out. Like it's you still got to hunt. It's not like you can just sprinkle the corn and sit there. You got to be concealed. You got to play the wind. And everybody's doing it, so it evens the playing field. Now, I'm not making a case that PA should allow baiting, but you're just so antiquated in your rules in PA. We're still using flintlocks. You're just behind the ball. You can't.
Right.
They throw in what, 4 Sundays a year? They spread it out between 3 seasons. What was it, 4 or 3?
3 Sundays.
3 Sundays. Get the fuck out of here! Like, just let it go. Let people enjoy their weekend and hunt. Because who wants to travel somewhere, hunt Saturday, and travel home? You could travel to camp, whatever, hunt Saturday, Sunday, at least for a long weekend. Even if you take Friday off, or what, you take Monday off, you got to stop Sunday and just sit around and hunt Monday. It's dumb. I mean,
yeah.
Well, if they want to kill more doe,
that's what I mean.
They still have the old flintlock. I mean,
well, they spend millions on advertising campaigns telling people to fill their antlerless tags, and then you can't hunt on Sunday. You got to hunt with a shitty flintlock. You can't hunt inline, and then God forbid you recover your deer, using technology. If you're going to let cell cams go, why not have drone recovery? I mean, like I said, use dog services. I think dogs are way more invasive. Say you're in the middle of the season, you blow through there with 2 dogs or 1 dog on a leash, like, you're blowing every deer out of that area. Fucking drone ain't doing nothing.
Well, I got first-hand experience with that. 3 years ago, I shot a giant buck, like 12 yards, bled heavy for 100 yards, and then just stopped. And I looked for hours, for like 8 hours, couldn't find any drop of blood. Got 2 dogs in there. They sniffed around, got nowhere with it. And I grid searched for 2 days after that. Never found a thing. But if we could use drones for recovery right there, there's a pretty good chance someone's going to find that thing for me.
Oh, absolutely.
right.
I mean, and you're talking, you're adding an industry, a hunting industry. Well, regulate them, make them get a recovery stamp, or make them ready. They're going to do that. Like, if they ever legalize it, you're going to have to register out the ass. You're going to say, I'm not hunting. I'm a recovery specialist. You're going to have to register with the state, just like butchers do. The damn butcher's got to register with the state, for crying out loud. You can't even have, your backwoods buddy butcher doing it commercially. So I just don't see a downside. I mean, they could get their money, people could get their deer, and it's less invasive on the woods. Like, allow technology to go. I mean, you're already out there using GPS, you're already out there using Onyx, you're already out there using cellular cameras.
Crossbows.
Yeah. Fucking crossbows, they got no problem.
Well,
Seasons for crossbows.
Or in Pennsylvania, when it's flintlock season, are you allowed to use a crossbow?
Yep.
But so then there's a weird loophole. If you don't fill your buck tag in late season, you can use it as a doe tag, but you can only use it as a doe tag if you're using a flintlock. What the fuck?
And how late is late season?
It's like 2 weeks. It's day after Christmas till like early mid-January.
Yeah.
Oh, so right around the time when all the bucks are starting to drop their horns anyways.
That's the trouble.
Well, yeah, I mean, they can. Some, most of them hold on, but it's a difficult season. You're talking, they just been pressured to shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared. They're not running their normal patterns. They hunker down low. I mean, they've been through war. And you don't want to let me shoot a doe with my compound bow? Like, What the fuck? I mean, I don't know any logic behind that whatsoever. Even a crossbow still has the same range
Right.
and
I was just
as
going to say that.
uh, I mean, a flintlock probably has better range. I don't know. Crossbows are pretty good now, but more reliability with a crossbow. But still one shot, right? You
Right.
can't repeatedly shoot. But why they want more does dead, but you can't unless you have, a 1900s fucking flintlock. That and it you're talking that snow season. We don't get snow anymore in regular season, but damn January snow season. So, why can't you? I don't understand. It's the worst season to hunt with a flintlock. One drop of snow, one shitty day, and you click. No, everybody's been there with damn flint. I hate flintlocks.
Well,
So
if you want a little bit
surprised
of
that they don't have the bayonet rule on that flintlock.
Yeah, might as well just fucking yeet the thing at the deer. You can knock it out at least.
Revolutionary War style.
That's
Right.
shit. Throw a bayonet and harpoon the fucker. Might as well.
Take a musket out there.
They probably, you know what? If you harpooned a deer, you'd probably get fined in Pennsylvania. Hands down. I guarantee it.
Be a new rule. You get one shot with the gun, and then you don't get to reload it. You get caught with more ammunition on it, then you're getting fined. So
Got a
the
full harpoon.
second you just got to harpoon it.
Yeah, and then you go to Ohio and you can smoke freaking 4 does in a day with a damn inline in January. I think their season goes till February. Their late season is fantastic because they get hungry, food scarce, snows in, and some of them it used to be were 4 doe tag units. They had 2 doe tag. The least amount they had were 2 doe tag units. So you could shoot 2 does and a buck. I think regularly you had to have it skinned and out. But in Ohio years back, we shot 3 deer in a day. In late season, I shot a buck chasing a doe. We shot 2 does earlier that morning. That evening, I shot a buck chasing a doe. Full rut, full grunting, all with an inline. I mean, PA's worried about what? They want more deer dead, apparently, which is sad, I think. But, I think they need to chill on the doe tags for a while, but they think the opposite. So I'm baffled. They want people to fill tags, but they just make it harder on you. And this is what we're spending our money on is absurd.
Well, I can't tell you how many guys I know around me that have 2 doe tags and like 2 or 3 DMAP tags. They just load it up every year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the DMAP guys, they go crazy. I mean, I know guys that do that too. I mean, we're not really doe hunters. So, if we shoot a doe, it's in line in New York. I mean, hands down. I would have let my son shoot a doe this year, but shit, in PA, I couldn't even find a fucking doe for him to shoot in rifle season. Yeah. So rifle season's miserable in PA anymore. No snow, fucking barely any deer. It's a sad state of affairs, it really is.
Well, if you want a sliver of hope for some change coming down the pipe, there is a state legislator in PA that's planning to introduce a bill that would allow drones to be used for recovery, and he's not getting much pushback on it yet.
Oh yeah, and he's probably got some skin in the game. I'm sure he's got some investment in some company. Because you could really, the guy Drone Survey. I knew a guy, a girl I worked with. Her husband, he was a drone surveyor. Mm-hmm. Dude traveled all over the country, high tech ass drones, but he could survey land super accurately without touching foot on. He could do boundaries and distance and size, all that shit you needed to survey, all drone.
Wow.
You get the coordinates to the courthouse, a lot of math and shit, but it's a lot easier. If you ever walk property and try to find old boundary lines, it's not easy. I mean, some of them still use hatchet marks. I've run into hatchet marks on trees. Like, they haven't used that shit in probably 100 years. An old fence rows or surveying's not an easy game. I had old neighbors, all deer hunters in a squabble, and, they were fighting over 30 yards. The pins over here, the pins over here. Like, you get digital and you put in coordinates, that shit's locked in. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you don't, it's not just you walking, one guy says, hey, this is yours, this is that guy's, throws a pin in the ground. You lock it in with GPS, it is what it is. Everybody knows. I, you know, I think you're silly. Yeah, and those survey guys could probably double up and do that deer recovery. I'm sure those drones, I mean, you're already spending thousands on drones. That's the other thing. It's not like these are your average $200 drones. These are
No,
thousands of dollars of drones.
Well, for a surveyor, a couple $1,000s on a drone would be a drop in the bucket compared to what those
Exactly.
guys' equipment costs.
Well, and the recovery ones too, because you got to fly some serious distance, serious battery life. Like you can't just quit halfway through. You got to be able to fly for hours looking for these damn things.
Right.
And it could be harsh conditions as well. Like I'm not sure what kind of snow or rain or whatever bullshit weather we get in hunting season they can fly in, but this is not a cheap endeavor, and I'm sure you're paying. Just like that video I sent you guys, the guy's doing drone, they're pulling deer out with them. The damn drones are so big they can pick them up.
That's not.
I mean, that's not necessary around here, but out west, that'd be a fucking game changer.
and
I mean,
like
if
you
it's in a
said,
field,
or go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if it's in a field, you can do that, but shit, if it's in the woods,
And one I saw, they lifted the damn thing out of the woods. I mean, they sneaked through the trees, long ropes, sneaked through.
I guess you could do it with a long rope. I was thinking you'd have to take the drone down to a
I
certain
mean,
level. You get
I
stuck in the canopy.
I gotta think mule deer might be the limit on that. I mean, there's no way you're lifting an elk out of there. You need a
No
fucking
way.
helicopter for that. But
Right.
I mean, out west, you shoot a nice muley or something like that, and he drops into a canyon. There's a lot of open spaces out there. It's just accessibility is the problem.
I was just
Even if
thinking of
you,
the areas we've hunted, all the canyons that they've been down in
yeah,
the bottom of. You can't get them out of there.
even if
Yeah.
if a guy said, "Hey, this elk dropped in the canyon," even if you quartered it, and cut the bone as much as you can off, and then take the bags out, 150 pound bag, shit, that's a lifesaver. It might take you, it might your last day or something, or second to last day. Like it might be necessary if you're
Right.
willing to pay. How much you pay them guys to get on there and horseback and do it? It ain't cheap. So I just think that Pennsylvania's so resistant to change. I mean, obviously the flintlock argument. The only thing they're progressive on is crossbows, which drives me insane. It's just laziness, I think, on most people's part. I mean, if you're a senior or disabled, whatever, man,
Right.
let them go. Just give them a special. They already can hunt with like what 4-wheelers if you're disabled. Like
Hmm.
there's certain areas you can hunt off for. Like yeah, allow people to do that. Keep them in the game. They still want to hunt. Make exceptions, but that's a small percentage of the population. Like
Right.
we don't need guys out there. Most of the guys I know, they only crossbow hunt. Most of them crossbow hunt late season, which I'm not against because it's a hell of a lot better than a flintlock.
Right.
I know I can't hit shit with a flintlock, but some people can. I think that's dead and gone. Most people haven't even shot one.
Well, I don't want to shit on the crossbow hunters too much, but you think of how many people actually put in the practice time to get proficient with those things. I bet you it's a very small number.
No,
And they're stepping out there in the woods and flinging bolts at these deer 50, 60, 70 yards away and hitting them in the back leg and God knows where else. And
yeah, I'm more terrified of crossbows. Just all that pressure in there, like that, just not ideal to me. But I have considered it for late season. It has a time and a place, but you also have to give, compound bow hunters and longbow hunters their due. Give them their season. Make it a dedicated late season or whatever for crossbows, because you're just muddying the water. You want more deer killed? Stop crowding the archery woods, because we can kill some serious deer, but the pressure kills it. I mean, the only problem I ever run into in the archery woods is crossbow hunters. To be honest, I think that's where most of my animosity comes from. Is you're right. These guys don't scout. They don't practice. I mean, most compound guys I know are shooting in the summer. They're damn near all year long.
yep, April
You know,
on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't shoot competition or practice, but yeah, I mean, a lot of guys do. I know you guys do sometimes. It's just you got to fine tune your skill, and it takes a lot of skill. And you're right; these guys just if I bought a crossbow, I'd be like, "Fuck it," I shoot the thing 3-4 times.
Yeah.
As long as it's smacking the target, I'm good to go. But you're right; there's still a lot of factors. There's still wind. There's still the deer moving or bucking, ducking it, whatever. It's just, but they don't account for any of that because it's an aim and shoot kind of deal. Yeah, that's what you feel like. And you got these guys taking 80-yard freaking shots, which the crossbow can do, but also you can't see shit past 50 yards, branches or whatever else. It don't take much.
Uh,
No, and the PA woods they're not thinned out. It's not tall standing open timber. It's fucking scrub everywhere. So I mean there's just obstacles and branches. I mean, most of the time I'm lucky to get a 30-yard shot without a bunch of shit in my way.
Well, that's the thing. You don't even need a rangefinder half the time.
Yeah. And you technically can't go out and cut shit down. So, like, what do you want people to do? I mean, just.
do you have a lot of mountain laurel around you down there where you're at? Comparison to back home?
Not as much as back home. Yeah, not as much as northwestern part of the state. It's just. Yeah. I mean, we have it, but northwestern part of the state is unavoidable. Like every hunting trip, you're running into mountain laurel. Now, me, I run into more standing thickets like red brush and shit like that. But I like to hunt edge of thickets. I seek that shit out. But we get more clear cuts with, just beach brush, scrubby shit. Not so much mountain laurel. But the northwestern part of the state is just nothing but mountain laurel.
Yeah.
And it's our state flower. You technically
right.
can't touch it. You can't touch the shit. If you rip it out, break a twig, they might do a sting operation on you.
You ever try to track a deer through that shit? It's impossible.
I've done so many drives through mountain laurel. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But the shit that comes out of that, I mean, I've kicked bears out, I've kicked foxes, coyotes, just this stuff.
It holds critters, that's for sure.
It's a haven, man. But they just come out 90 miles per hour in God knows what direction. And they normally backtrack you. I mean, you'd be better off to push laurel and just leave a sitter behind you because they're coming back. Like you're coming back in. It's just a matter of when.
Never forget one time when I was a kid and somebody pushed the mountain laurel. Heard this just fucking commotion going on. Here they come, man, just woo, right at me. Of course, I was looking for buck and it's all damn does. These things got so damn on top of me, just flying by, and just thought I was going to get ran over as a kid.
Yeah, it's just chaos.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like bird hunting, though. But I mean, at that point, your scope's almost fucking useless because if you're more than 3 times zoom, you ain't seeing shit.
Just point.
Yeah, that's why the guys back in the day at 30-30 lever action, they brush gunned everything. They open sights, 30-30s. They were huge when I mean, shit, all the guys I grew up hunting with had the pumps, the Remington 7600s. Doug knows that. I mean, all 3 of them had /06 or 270 7600 pumps. I mean, those are antiques. You don't see them damn things anymore, but that's exactly why. Low power scopes, pumps, because we hunted mountain laurel. I mean, you're aware of that. Big rocks and mountain laurel. That's all it was. You got very small openings to shoot. But I mean, that's tough to be clean shooting, ethical shit. That's another case for drone recovery because you shoot a deer and I mean, where we grew up hunting, these patches of mountain laurel are miles.
Mm-hmm.
But with road, sometimes there's old logging roads or something in between where you get a little opening to see, but you're talking a 10-foot swath, and that's where you may see blood or something, but there's jungles in there. I mean, absolute jungles. And drone recovery would be a godsend for, those mountain laurel hunters. And that's the tough. PA mountain hunting is the toughest damn shit I've ever hunted. You get short windows for rifle and archery. It's just not ideal. There's very small openings. There's so many different ways they can go. They go 10 yards the wrong direction. You're just seeing you're just seeing flashes. How many times have you seen deer well within bow range? We can't shoot. because you just can barely make out that it's a deer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you can't. Those guys in rifle season are just throwing lead. So there's another case. I mean, how many deer? I found countless dead deer that are unclaimed.
I found a 7-point this year myself.
I found a super nice 9-point years ago, and on the edge of a laurel patch. Like
Mm.
I'm sure that was a beautiful deer. We ended up taking the horns. It was coyotes chewed its ass apart, but
Just more evidence for drone recovery services.
exactly. I mean,
Right.
that guy should have had his buck. That was a beautiful buck, and it went to waste. I mean, it was half eaten by predators and mostly by bug. Everything was spoiled. It's sad.
Mm.
You just run into that. It's sad to see, but I'm sure whoever shot that looked through hell and back for that thing. Because PA mountain buck at it's a solid 9 is a damn good buck. It's probably 130 inch, which laughable some places, but PA mountains that's a good buck for somebody.
Well, I think that's a perfect spot to leave off.
Yeah, I'm definitely pro drone recovery. I'd see more of an argument for cellular cameras than I do against drones.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be careful taking a shit in the woods nowadays, so you don't end up on somebody's cellular camera. But don't fly a drone around.
Yeah, you can get 24/7 pictures sent right to your phone, but don't use a drone to recover a deer you've been wounding.
Up to the minute too. I mean, you can be sitting in the woods and get a picture. I could see an argument for outlawing those, but it's just who's on top of that industry? Corporations. They're making cameras. They got money. They're gonna push that legislation through. They got more influence than some small business owner, some guy that has to actually fly a drone. They're never going to corporate drone recovery. That's all going to be small business, just like butcher shops and everything else. But, country thrives in a small business. I think, I'm pro drone recovery. Let it go.
Well, hopefully change is on the horizon.
Yeah. About 5 to 10 years, we'll see some sort of legislation, but yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yep. Thanks for stopping by.